everybody to their own.
Yeah. But it gets mixed up historically with our culture.
Absolutely.
And the two things are separate.
Yeah, totally.
But it gets intermingled.
Totally.
And one is not, it's dependent on the other. It's not
and
not
that's
factual.
a lovely way of saying it, Rasa, that I love that just how you say, I'm taking that, I'm robbing it on you. But just to separate our culture and our religion, because, and I'm not, there's lots of lovely, but not my cup of tea.
Yeah. And iconic moments you've drawn on to get yourself through these moments of hardship. We focus on resilience. Happier moments where...
Oh, God, yeah. Do you know...
In case we sound too morbid.
No, we don't. And I think it's a lovely conversation, the one we're meant to have. And I don't think the Irish are morbid. And I don't think talking about death and I think it's actually...
We actually celebrate death, having lived in different places in the world.
Yeah.
So in Spain, for example, people pass and they're gone within 24 hours, 48 hours max.
Yeah.
And people can't understand what we do. But when you go through how we bury people, it sounds silly to say it's celebration, but it's reliving.
I think it's so, it really...
There's a beauty to it.
There really is a beauty. And I... Talk about Spain. I had to get John home, his body, because that's where he was murdered. And I thought I'd never because I was going, get him out of here and get him. He's Irish. That's all I kept saying is he's Irish. My head wouldn't. And when we got home, and look, it just, there's no words. But we had a wake. He was in his home. He was under the television. People came and went. There was a bottle of rum on his coffin, thank God, And that is huge, and that is Irishism, and that was honouring a man that was so proud to be Irish, but a very open-minded man who could go global and cosmic, as well. So I don't see any of it as morbid, but when I think of, I can't think of one great moment. I've had lots of good madness in my life. I had lots of friends and a husband who could the very dark sense of humour. And Conor and Amy have a really dark sense. I'd be in the house going, if anybody heard. But it's good for us, but it's our own little pack, But John had a very dark sense of humour and I loved it. Do you know what I did? I was dreadful. Now I think he used to say to me, if he fall or he trip on the stairs, this is dreadful. I start giggling. Isn't that dreadful when I and he used to say to me, you'll never be me carer, Caroline McGuigan. So it's a weird,
But you've carried no bitterness, have you? Or you have dark
rage. I carry rage.
And how do you deal with that, Carol?
Yeah, so every emotion, you can't stop an emotion, and I don't worry about what comes. And it's like, there's no right and wrong. When they come, it's what I do with them. Sometimes I drink. Sometimes I medicate. Sometimes I do lots of meditation. I would be very much into a very broad way of living life, and I pick groups that I join. But you see, murder is ugly, it's brutal, it's violent, it's horrific. So I deny nothing because I would not do that to my husband. Someone recently said, I'm only going to remember the good times of John. And I went, oh my God, his death was part of his life. And I love him so much. So how do I manage? Some days I'm on my knees, Rasa. Some days I shake from head to toe. I go to different type of treatments that are supportive to me. I am around groups that help me. I'm in a beautiful reading group. My friend, she's a professor and she wrote a book, The Power of Love. She went all over the world to meet all different people from all walks of life. And we read that book and look at, even in the most horrific circumstances, people have found a way to take a step forward. So that's the groups I hang out with now. I've had to walk away from so much. I've lost so much. I've been stripped bare of so much. So how do I have good friends, beautiful friends who don't have agendas, who don't have an opinion. I have 2 beautiful children and their legacy. I see John in them, even though they're their own. But sometimes, Rasa, I really don't know. And that's when I say to life, I am so pissed off and I do not know how to take the next step. So you come up with the answer. And I literally will stand and go, I don't know what to do anymore.
And you stand still and wait?
I do, and it comes. Yeah. Do you get that?
Yeah, well, I have no problem with silence and waiting, and some people do.
Terrifies
them. Before even 10 seconds have passed, they have to fill it. And sometimes I feel in the silence, it sounds poetic, but sometimes in that gap of the silence, solutions do come.
Couldn't agree more. I love stillness.
Yeah.
I love silence, and I would talk in the morning to my beautiful soul's gone ahead, and then I use a beautiful oracle card, and I'd say, what do I need to know now? And I have a meditation, and it's called Sip of the Divine, and I just say, okay, can you, and it's imagery, and I just say, can you just help me? What do I need to know now? I find silence, and as a therapist, people are terrified. It's their thinking, it's I find silence beautiful. I find it terrifying. It's probably one of the most resourceful places since John was taken from us that I go to, because you can't get much darker than being with your husband when he's been brutally murdered. So I get great.
And that's the way it was with Delphine. You were there.
Horrific, yeah, absolutely horrific, absolutely.
And
brutal.
how do you retribution? How do you reconcile that? Can you?
You see, no, for what? I mean, seriously, for me, it's like in the horrific brutality and what we've had to experience, even on the night, my friends, and I sat. My husband bled to death, and I sat. Now the man who had murdered him was nearby. I didn't know that, but he looked at me as he left this earth. So I'm going to go into the beauty of it in the most horrific, because the man who, with bottles from behind, brutally murdered my husband. So John got out, and the paramedic said, we don't know how he got back to you. I said, my husband could move mountains. So he was on the floor, and the screaming, it all stopped. And John looked at me until he left this earth. He died, and I sat in what no person should have to. But I was with him, and as Amy and Connor said, Ma'am, what you had to experience, and our two friends who were either side, they said, but if Dad had been in the toilet on his own, that would have killed us more. Yeah. So I was with my husband, having, as he died in the most horrific circumstances, but I know that absolutely has an impact on how I moved forward in life, for sure.
In a funny way, it gives you strength.
Absolutely, yeah. He was with me. I was with him, and the love, Rasa, in his eyes, the love was divine. It was just and a sadness, but the love, and then there's all that was around us. But I was, and I know for Connor and Amy, I know that makes a difference. Yeah.
Well, that strength is important, isn't it, to go forward?
And it's and also the fullness of who you are as a human being. To allow that. Don't buy into the pack mentality. My granddad John's dad, he said to me, he's really one day, I said to him, I have something to say to you. And he said, what? And I said, what happens when you follow the crowd and all, or the whatever, the herd and all? And he said, what, Carol? I said, you stand and shite. I said, it's like, don't. It's so, and as I said, I get to work with beautiful people now as a therapist, Rosa, and there's such similarity in what we fear, what we worry about, and it's like, be heroic, be brave, live the life as awful, and everybody is suffering. And I always think what Viktor Frankl said, everybody has their Auschwitz, and I agree with him. And it's like what me and you are saying, surround yourself with the right people, which will be brave, because you will need to say goodbye and you will need to say hello, and do what your soul, do your passion, even if it's mad and batty. Takes courage.
Does that come with age, Caroline? I mean, I look at younger people now, my daughters, for example, and the whole anxiety of every day. You
unbelievable.
I know it's a first world issue in a way, but the anxiety they self-impose of trying to meet expectations
Off
that
the Richter scale.
nobody's actually setting for them.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I do. I think, though, if every age talks, there's a lot of wisdom in that. And what I love, if I'm working